So,
well, they have to set vision and direction aren't necessarily the same thing, in my opinion. You know, vision is a picture of the future of where the company wants to go. Direction is where do we need to go, you know, next. You know, vision can be a longer term, you know, far reaching. At least that's the way I interpret the model. You know, direction is, you know, where do we put our resources? Where do we focus? Where do we, you know, what's our next direct, you know, where are we headed? So would you say that, so I'm just trying to understand how it might relate to this model here. So are you saying that the C-level creates the vision and the epics and the stories? Is that done with like the senior management? And then it gets translated down? Or are you saying
the epics come out of the vision of the strategy of what you're going to, it's how you're going to fulfill that vision is through the epics, right? I mean, epics is just a convenient Scrum label that seems to fit down the level of
okay. And then traditionally, the way that I understand strategic planning is come up with a vision and a mission and some strategic objectives, and then the C-level team does. And then based on that, then they give it to their functional roles. You figure out how to get this. This is what we need. This is the amount of productivity. And then you go and come up with plans and come back to us and tell us how you're going to achieve that. And then you're accountable. And we can review that, and then you're accountable for achieving those goals and objectives. Is that any different in what we're talking about here?
I think so. I would add in Scrum label.
How does that, what is that, can you explain what that is?
Just it's not actually going to go straight to a production story. There's probably going to be some back and forth way figuring out what those stories should be. So there's some spike work there, which you might be choosing technology, you might be needing to get resources or whatever it is to have something producible.
To break something down into stories, some negotiation.
But that might be, you know, between the production teams and the product owning teams.
Especially cross-functional, it's good to get all the people who are already work together in a small scale before we actually do it. And that kind of testing out the collaboration, which is necessary because we still have functional silos,
Okay, and that's a good point. So if you look at some of the obstacles that we talked about, the pitfalls, you know, some of the obstacles and pitfalls that I see are, you know, these functional silos, which, you know, is part of the fiefdoms. How do you spell fiefdoms? Is it E-I or I-E?
Yes.
Is it E-I?
No, it's I. I before E except after C.
There's command and control, you know, the old model. There's culture, you know, the culture is often doesn't reinforce collaboration. There's change of urgent, because it means giving up something, right? What else? What are some of the other?
Well, there's a resource in all this discussion. I don't know if you read the book, The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team.
Yeah.
Okay, so that didn't have the word Agile or Scrum in it, but it is, right? And that's the book that I imagine for the kind of the sequence or possibilities of problems and solutions that I imagine a C-level team going through, right? Where you have, I can think of management teams the few times that I've attended full-blown C-level management meetings, right? And I see the dysfunction there. I can think of all kinds of things that I would do if this was a development team. Here's the things, exercises I would do, whatever, to get through this nonsense that's going on. That's all those same techniques exist or all those same problems exist in a C-level team, and those same techniques will work. All the games you find at tastycupcakes.com and all those different things of collaborating and how to teach collaboration, all that applies. It doesn't matter that they have a C in front of their title. They're still humans, and they'll still learn that same way.
I actually have this model here. Just 5 dysfunctions are absence of trust, fear of conflict, lack of commitment, avoidance of accountability, and inattention to results. Those falls out the 5 dysfunctionals.
Right. I bought the book not really know. Somebody said, hey, you should read this book, and so I went and bought it. I didn't really know what the premise was. I expected it to be a book about development teams or a product team, but it's a book about a CEO level team.
Exactly.
Right? Which surprised me, but it applies all up and down. And Scrum provides a framework where those things can flourish and those things are reinforced. So part of me thinks to some extent that some of this discussion is a little funny. Like somehow because they have a C in their title, chief, that somehow techniques that work with a team won't work with them because they're somehow special, different, golden, whatever they are. But they will. Scrum will just work on a C-level team. I don't have a history to back that up, nor do I really know what their backlog will look like. But to some extent, I'm saying, well, geez, just freaking do it and figure it out, right? It'll work.
Just do it.
Just do it.
And I think the friction you have to go through, for example, to get a team, a software development team to accept that you don't own the code for login, that the team owns it. It's the same type of thing that you don't own the QA team, the teams own it. But it somehow seems to be harder to make that transition for coder to say, okay, with this collective ownership of code, we're all a responsible party of the whole thing. But if you have kind of come up the QA chain and become manager, director, and now you're VP of quality assurance, to say that, well, you don't own the QA function in the organization. It seems a lot harder to do. That's just my sense.
No, and it will. And I mean, I can imagine directors and C-level people that I've talked to, if I were to tell them, hey, this is the C-level team, and yes, you are director of production, or the VP of production, whatever you are, of production, right? And in my mind, production means making a physical product, right? But you don't own that function. Engineering does too, and so does marketing, right? I can see people just looking at me like, you're just absolutely bonkers. I'm not going to worry about whether or not engineering can do their job. And I certainly don't want the VP of marketing messing around with my production process. Right? There's this belief that their knowledge in their area is so special, and that's their power, and there's a vulnerability there that they don't trust, and there's a lack of they fear conflict. I mean, I can imagine trying to do this at